House to Home, presented by Remax Diamond Realty.
We are House to Home. I am Jason. She is Liz Duenas. There we go, is Gina Campus, and we are a team. And unfortunately, we're not in Mescala today, but ladies, I got to tell you, thank you for doing that segment with me where we talked about politics and everything. I had the time of my life, and I had the meal that was the highlight of my week. So thank you guys for that. And if you don't know what we're talking about, check it out on our YouTube channel. Really fun.
That was a lot of fun, Jason.
It was food for the mind as well as the stomach.
That's right.
Well, you know what? I'm so glad we went that day because I didn't even realize they still had that mango cobbler. I'm hooked.
I know, and the fact that I got to steal your ice cream was, just bonus and everything. But tell you what, so we're
and the panna cotta.
And the panna cotta. There you go. Well, we are going to talk about real estate topics today. Something I've wanted to talk about with both of you, because both of you are such tenured members of Guam's real estate community. I wanted to talk, Liz and Gina, about there's so many different multimedia ways in the modern real estate market to show off a property. You can do virtual reality exhibits. You can do a video where you walk through, and we have a show that runs on our channel's Properties in the Tropics, which is fantastic. It's absolutely wonderful. But I'm thinking, when you do that kind of tour, as well as like an in-person tour, what do you as realtors try and highlight? Or, when you're taking someone either through a commercial property or a home for residential customers, and you're going through, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the kitchen, the hallways, and everything like that. What points of interest are you really trying to illuminate, and how do you direct and guide someone's attention?
Actually, before we take people out, sometimes we usually set up an appointment, especially if they're on island. I don't just run around. I send them data information on what property is available. However, my preference, have them come in, because I don't want to spin anyone's wheels and I don't want to spin my wheels. So we'd have a discussion, whether it's in person or online, where we would talk about what's important to them, what are they looking for, what amenities are associated with the properties they're looking at, whether it be for rent or purchase. And then what I would do is go through the MLS data sheets and say, okay, these are the properties that are available. Which one stands out for you? Which one are you most interested in? And then we kind of narrow down the list before we go out, because I think some people would just run around and show properties, but I'd like to fine tune it in terms of showing them what they would like best. And then we go from there. And I usually have them rank. If you see this particular property, what aspects of the property do you like? And then we narrow down the list and I have them rank it. So, for example, if they say, okay, I like property A, B, and C, and then I ask them, what about it do you like? And if for some reason a certain property was not included in that list, I will already know from their ranking, okay, we can add this to the list and then go from there. And then they start to narrow down their selection. But I always have them rank it, which is number 1, number 2, and number 3.
So basically, and you would look at that and you say, of the various properties that you ranked or rated, it seemed like they had like little island in the kitchen had in common and everything. So I'm gonna try and find, properties that have that. Okay.
Exactly.
So you're basically doing like what Netflix does with movies and what Amazon does with with books and items, and I guess eHarmony does with like dating. So
that's right.
Okay, yeah. So Gina, even though you say you as a realtor you are in the customer service industry, and that's absolutely correct, you're still a salesperson, and there is an element, a very strong one, of salesmanship when you're taking someone through a house. So when you're doing that, you're probably reading their body language, their facial expressions, their reactions, and their responses to a property. So how do you kind of play on that?
Well, we have a responsibility to hear behind the words, right? Or to see what's behind the words, what's behind the expressions. And so you get to really know your customers. What I try to look for is what they're not saying. That's more important than what they are saying, right? It really is. And Jace, we get to look at properties every day. When we take our customers out, we understand that we see these properties every day. Maybe we've shown it more than once. And when you're showing too many properties at the same time, your customers will get confused. And your question in the beginning was, how do you help them focus? We help them focus by asking the right questions. When we go through a certain property, we're going to try to make sure we know what the right questions are, because if you don't ask the right questions, they won't focus. Let's say you're showing 5 properties today. Tomorrow you show another 5 properties. At the end of the week, I will even be confused. And so that's why it's really important to help them ask questions at each property. And I've got customers that walk through a house and 10 minutes later or 5 minutes later, they know this is not it.
Okay. And an analogy I always use is, maybe ignorantly, is unlike a car, which you're going to be used primarily for transportation. And so those are shorter sessions. You're looking at a physical structure where you will lay your head at the end of the day, where you will raise and probably create your family, where you will make meals, where you will entertain. And these are for long periods of time over a very, very substantial part of your life. Okay. So the usage is different. Yeah.
So absolutely. And we ask a lot of questions, and we don't ask a lot of questions because we're nosy. We ask a lot of questions because we're trying to help you focus. And the more you answer our questions honestly, the better we can in our minds. Because remember, as you answer the questions in our minds, we're thinking, what else out there should I be bringing them? And I've been surprised at the number of times that what somebody told me they wanted and what they ended up buying are on opposite ends of the scale.
Okay, Liz, I have a question for you. There's a popular theory out there when it comes to musical instruments, right? And I played guitar since I was like 5 years old. Some people believe that the man doesn't choose the instrument chooses the man, right? Do you see any parallel between that and like a piece of property where there's just that spiritual connection almost?
Actually, they talk about feng shui, right? And we don't quite understand it. All I know is if I go into a piece of property, I have a certain feeling. So when I take people around, I always ask them the questions. Well, what do you think? How do you feel about this property? How are you attracted to it? So yes, there is something about that. But again, as Gina puts it, we have to continuously ask the questions, but we listen from here and from a sensing, because sometimes, as Gina puts it, they're not saying something, but you could feel something either is right or is not right. So we have to constantly just ask the right questions to guide them and then fine tune it. But I always ask, how does it feel? Because when you're in property, there's a certain energy, there's a certain feeling, and sometimes it feels right and sometimes it doesn't. And I've heard clients say, the neighborhood, I love the house, but the neighborhood doesn't feel right. Or they like the neighborhood, but they're trying to find the right home. So again, asking the right questions, but at the same time, because I've had it where a customer said, I like the second one. I'm ready. And we're on our 5th and 6th. So you have to keep asking questions. How do you rank it? How do you feel? Which one feels right?
And what the young people would say these days, the kids these days would describe that sentiment as catching a vibe.
Right. Exactly that. And I would say, if you don't like it, be honest. I'd rather an individual be blunt and honest so we can move on and deal with it quickly, versus the niceties and hiding behind the scene, because then you can't nail it. And I love to nail the right property to help the customer enjoy what either they're renting or what they're purchasing. So that makes a big deal.
I felt that when you say you wanted to nail it, I felt that right here and right here.
Yes.
Okay, Gina, I've been fortunate to tag along with the two of you on a number of occasions when you're showing me property, or we've live streamed stuff, and even when you're showing clients. Do you find that clients respond more favorably to like say if it's a military family that's relocating and it's some high-ranking admiral or something like that, the house is completely furnished and it's all made up. I mean, it's very, very very warming, like very warm, and you've got like this wonderful accoutrement, as they say. and it really looks like a place where you can live because someone literally is living there? Or do you find people respond better to a blank slate and it's like a house without any, the carpeting's not up there, there's no furniture, there's no table hookups, but they can see the potential and they can see what it would do for them?
For me, honestly, I don't think that matters because it depends on what the owners have. It depends on how they've staged it for us. I do prefer, me personally, I prefer to show an empty house because then the individual going through the property can envision what it will look like for them. So I do prefer to show an empty house, but I know nowadays so many people want to stage it. And I find this, I find this staging really works well for the higher end homes, and it works well for rental property for the mid-range, because a lot of the mid-range people looking for property are looking for furnished housing. So, I don't think there's a right or wrong. And I think it just depends on what your customer is open to looking at, right? The other thing that I just want to point out is when we're working with our customers, the reason we also ask a lot of questions is we don't want to disappoint them. So we also want to make sure they focus on what their price range is going to be, because the worst thing that could happen is you bring someone to a property without qualifying them first. They fall in love with the property only to find out, to be disappointed at the end that it wasn't in the right price bracket for them. And then the other thing is, as realtors, we need to know when to keep our mouths shut, because there have been occasions where we're like,
haha.
And, when somebody falls in love with a property, it doesn't matter what your opinion is, does it?
No.
They're in love with it. And your job at that point is to take them to the end, whether it's they're buying it or they're renting it. It doesn't matter. They love it. Your job is to get them to the end, to get them to the keys. That's it.
Ladies, Valentine's Day is kind of a ways off, but do you two see yourself as like little cupids where, you're flying around with a bow and arrow, like with a heart shape, and, like you can sense when you can fire it at someone, it hits them right in the behind. And then it's like, oh, okay, this is home.
That's the beauty. That's a beauty. And it certainly feels good when you've helped them find that home that they're happy with. I mean, that's always the key. Did we match them with the right property, and how do they feel about it? So that gives us joy.
Okay,
Every day
not,
is
not that you're actually literally trying to shoot people in the behind with bows and arrows. Metaphor.
No, Jace,
No.
every day is Valentine's for us. When we nail it, every day is Valentine's for us.
Wow. That's perfect. So we're just going to stop there, because I was trying to think of some classy way to, but that's perfect. So if you felt that as I did, and we hope all of you did, that's here, and here with
here. And your doggone.
There you go. All right, ladies, thank you so much. I can't believe we just said that. Okay, we'll see you next week, assuming we don't get thrown off the air. All right, bye everybody.
Okay,
that's what editing's for.
There you go. In the end, right?